This is the second video in a 6-part series on rethinking our food system. If you miss any, you can go to www.gbiota.com/videos to see previous episodes. We have a simple choice. We can have a sustainable food system which improves the odds of living a long and healthy life. Or we can have a food system which makes us fat and sick and destroys the soil for our grandkids, but makes a lot of short-term profits for mega corporations. Guess which one I choose? If you think the same, then join me for the battle at the Gbiota Club. With any problem, the first step is to understand what is the real problem, and that, oddly enough, is not a simple shortage of food. Far from it. We have been increasing our production of food at almost 50% faster than the growth in population. To solve the food crisis, we obviously have to look at better ways of growing food, but we also have to see what we can learn from previous food shortages. We can start with the Irish potato famine caused by the blight. Many people starved to death, but we should also note that the wealthy farmers were still sending corn to the UK. Was that just a once-off? Look at Ethiopia. I went there in the middle of the last famine, and it was truly horrible. No one can look at a mum with a baby dying in her arms because she has no food to make milk. The causes were a combination of degraded soils and drought. But there were good soils, which were being used by wealthy organisations to grow flowers, which were flown to Europe on a daily basis. But the worst famine by far was in China during the Great Leap Forward, when it is estimated that 60 million people starved to death. That is more than the number of people killed in World War II. The cause was a fanaticism of the government, resulting in agricultural methods that were simply daft, yet food was still being exported to buy arms. Now, if I was to include America in this list, you'd think I'd lost my marbles. How could a wealthy food-producing country like America, or for that matter Australia, have a food crisis? I will talk about that soon, but what we can learn is that the population must have control over its food supply. This series describes the technology to let people have control over the critical part of their food. The problem is that the food we are producing by this vast machine of chemical industrial agriculture is full of energy, but lacking the essential biology and minerals for health. But working on the principle of getting back to basics, this is a totally new phenomenon. If we go back a couple of million years, when the first humanoids began to appear on Earth, we had exactly the opposite situation. The food was full of beneficial biology and minerals, but very short on energy, which made them crave energy food. We still suffer from this obsession today. Just count the number of times calories are mentioned in any article on food. But today, calories are not the real issue. The real issue is beneficial biota and minerals. Let's get back to first principles and work out where they came from in the first place. Well, the earth is just full of minerals, but they are just rocks, which we can't eat and are insoluble anyway. We had to wait the odd few billion years for the early biota, which probably came from outer space. Tough little things, these microbes, which slowly, very, very slowly, started to break down these rocks to form the first bit of soil. But then the first plants, actually ferns, arrived, and the earth turned into a flurry of activity. To break down rocks and release the minerals requires energy, and before plants there just wasn't much energy about. But plants can capture energy from the sun, which they use to create sugars, which they exude from their roots, which attracts and feeds any soil biota which happens to be about. So they breed like crazy. Microbes don't live very long, but they can sure breed like you would not believe. Each type of plants exude different types of sugars, which attract different types of microbes. So soon after the plants appeared, we just had an incredibly complex and varied soil biota. The biota, particularly the fungi, all joined in the party, breaking down the rocks to form soluble compounds containing a broad spectrum of minerals. This process of a wide variety of plants helping an even wider variety of microbes to breed in the soil is the first principle we need to understand in solving the food crisis. Some of the microbes would enter the plant's roots by osmosis, and our early ancestors ended up with a gutful of all sorts of microbes. If you want to know how to solve the food crisis, then watch the video series on rethinking our food system. It is important for the future of our species, so please tell your friends about this series. If you miss any, you can go to www.gbiota.com/videos.